college football has officially kicked off. Derek, Ohio State had a really good outing, albeit against Akron. But there were a lot of exciting games. The Virginia Tech Vanderbilt game was very, very exciting. Went to overtime. You got the Notre Dame Texas A&M game, which was really, really exciting. Colorado and NDSU kicking off. All of these exciting games and plenty more. I know that there's one happening as we're recording right now. It's what, LSU versus
LSU USC.
yes,
And don't
yes.
forget to the Clemson man out there getting stomped, just
Oh,
absolutely curb stomped by Georgia.
oh, yeah. Oof. Yeah, Clemson and Florida are not having a good start to the season. That's for sure. But Derek, let's kind of reel it back a little bit. While all these other games are going on, obviously, there's a little bit of an interest in Ohio State between us. So,
Mm-hmm.
what did you make of Ohio State's opening game versus Akron?
Yeah, so 52-6, like you said, be it against Akron, and I think that's kind of the biggest thing that you got to factor in here, right? We played Akron. Let me say it one more time. We played Akron. Let's temper things down a little bit, but nevertheless, for me, it was just more of an eye test thing. So many new pieces on this Ohio State roster. So many new pieces starting on this Ohio State roster. How's it all going to look? How's it all going to come together? And I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting a lot more rust, if you want to call it that. I know as Browns fans, we're tired of hearing that word. But out of this Ohio State offense, I was very impressed. Quarterback Will Howard comes in from Kansas State in the offseason out of the transfer portal. Tristan, I banged the table for Cam Ward, which, guess what? He played well for the University of Miami. But nevertheless, Will Howard is our starting quarterback, and he came out and he looked really good. 17 to 28, 228 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 rushes for 18 yards. I think Will Howard looked like the real deal. I had questions whether if he was going to come out and just kind of be airballing a lot. All offseason, everybody talked about how much of an arm he has and how much he can scramble. That's all well and good. We've seen plenty of big arm quarterbacks fail. I wanted to see his accuracy. I wanted to see his ball placement. And I thought he did a hell of a job. I mean, you look at the receivers on this team. There were 3 receivers over 50 yards. Yes, against Akron. But you have a freshman, Jeremiah Smith, 6 receptions, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Is unreal. Unreal. The guy who was projected to be a first-round draft pick, Emeka Ibuka, 4 receptions for 51 yards, and then Carnell Tate ahead of him, 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown. This offense is electric, to say the least. The run game was fascinating. I was interested to see kind of how that looked in game 1. Quinshaw Judkins had more rushes, which I anticipated. 13 for 55 yards and a touchdown. Trevion Henderson, 8 rushes for 65 yards. I wonder if this is what it's going to look like all year. I'm not entirely sure. But all in all, yes, against Akron. I'm going to say it one more time. Yes, against Akron. I was very impressed. I was very impressed with how Will Howard came out and just confidently got in rhythm. I was very impressed with the performance in game 1 from Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Emeka Ibuka, the run game. It was funny, though. Some things never change. G. Scott Jr., there was a clip on Twitter, just avoiding everything he can to go block for, I believe it was Judkins. Unreal. Just unreal laziness out of G. Scott Jr., not calling him out. But, yeah, all in all, Tristan, I was blown away. I was blown away just how smooth things looked offensively in the first game. Because a lot of times when you have a transfer quarterback coming in, it's not, sunshines and rainbows. And I thought Will did a great job. Again, 17-28, 228 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's really good. And when you look at how he was spreading the ball out, few different receivers, the running backs did their part. I think it's a good sign for things to come. I think defensively, there's some problems, but My biggest question mark was on the offense, and I can now confidently say that it's better than what I thought it would be early on, which is a great sign because we got Oregon coming up pretty quick. So, yeah, there's your Ohio State breakdown of the of the podcast. Tristan, what did you think? 52-6, Ohio State beats Akron. A lot of new pieces, a lot of new guys on this team. How'd you feel it? How'd you feel it went?
Yeah. Obviously, I didn't watch too much of this game. I only really saw moments, but from what I did see, I thought it was what we would want to see, what we would expect to see from Ohio State, especially against a team like Akron. No offense to them, just completely different size programs. That's all. Um, you know, I was talking to you a little bit before the podcast started. Jeremiah Smith. I don't know if people quite understand just how impressive what he did and what he is probably going to do is. I don't want to jinx him, but being a true freshman to go to wide receiver U, because that's what Ohio State is right now. There's nobody that's producing wide receivers like Ohio State at the moment. Um, I don't want to hear about LSU. LSU's had a few good ones here and there. Ohio State for me. Um, to go to Ohio State as a true freshman, and you mentioned it, with all of these talented receivers that they have, and as a true freshman, to be a starter, to, in your first game, be the number one receiver statistically, it's absolutely amazing. The talent is off the charts with this kid. And it's no wonder why Ohio State fans were so excited for him. There's no, he was everything that was promised. Now, the big question for him is, what's he going to look like against the tougher opponents? Well, you know what? Time will only tell, but what we have seen so far from him has been nothing short but of impressive.
Yeah, and to further, punch your point home, Emeka Buka is projected to be a first-round draft pick. Everybody thought and believes that he's probably the best receiver on the team, at least at the moment. And 4 receptions, 51 yards for him, compared to Jeremiah Smith's 6 for 92 and 2 touchdowns, right? And I think the biggest point for me, when you talk about wide receiver yeah, we're just pumping these guys out. I mean, I was talking to my coworker today about it, and the whole conversation was like, in the last 10 years, because we had on the Sugar Bowl where we beat Alabama to get to the national championship game against Oregon, and we were talking about like the wide receivers from that era till now, like who would be the guys, and it's insane when you sit there and you break it down. And listen, I'm just going to say it out there. I have, and I will forever love Devin Smith. He is my favorite Ohio State receiver of all time, and he always will be. But, what he was doing back then was spectacular. Now, obviously, he failed in the NFL, got hurt, whatever, dealt with a lot of injuries. But what he did here in Columbus then was like, wow, crazy. We're seeing guys do stuff like that as true freshmen now. I watched Marvin Harrison Jr., his first ever time on the field at Ohio State as a freshman. It was in the spring game, but you could just see, just set apart from the rest of the guys. And that was Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Abuka was there. It's always been a talented group of wide receivers. But when you have guys like Jeremiah Smith set themselves apart to the level that he did and has, it's nothing short of spectacular. I mean, Tristan, this guy is a true freshman. We have 3 full seasons of Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State before he can go to the NFL. If this is the level he's playing at now, I think he's for sure locked into a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, barring injury. It's unreal. It's unreal. And it's not to say these other guys are slouches. Cardinal Tate's a stud. Emeka Buka is obviously really good. He's just that damn good. It's just that simple. And it's crazy
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I yeah, just the potential is so off the charts with that kid. And we'll see what Ohio State can do this year because certainly I think a lot of people would agree it feels like a national championship or bust kind of year. But um, with that being said, Derek, any final thoughts on Ohio State before we start to transition into Cleveland Browns football?
Um, Over the next couple easy games, I want to see the defense get better. I want to see the defense kind of gel, and just offense keep doing what you're doing. I mean, it was a great day offensively. Defensively, would have liked to seen a little bit more, but hey, it's game one. Defense, you usually struggle early on, so. But yeah, I'm excited. Absolutely, national championship or bust, because we've had so many times in the last few years where we should have at least been there, right? Ohio State should have beaten Clemson back in 2019, I think it was, or 2020, one of the two. Whenever it was the Clemson LSU national championship, Ohio State should have won that game, right? They didn't. Well, guess what? Ohio State misses the kick against Georgia. Safe to say we would have won the national title that year. There's just been so many opportunities missed by just such a short amount of time. And it's time to flip it. It's time to flip it. Your blue blood program, you got to get back up there.